Ooh, it's episode 114 of Seddy Bimco, Part 2, The Revenge.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue our tour. I know there's controversy, but one
there's
website
controversy already.
Website said that this movie is filmed in Massachusetts, made in 1960. The Amazing Transparent Man that I picked. But before we get to the controversy, I have an age-old question about revenge, George.
Is it? Yeah, okay, let's hear it.
Did the recovering alcoholic at the wedding in Cana ever get revenge on Jesus for turning all that water into wine? Knocked him right off the wagon. Right? They had wagons then, right?
Yeah, they had wagons, they had alcoholics, recovering alcoholics.
He fell off the wagon. Okay.
He fell, and then he was crushed beneath the ox that was dragging it.
Yes.
And he lost his legs.
Dragging it?
A streetcar.
Wishing it.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. That's
America's foremost revenge scene podcast. I gotta tell you, this is so far as I know, the only time this has ever happened. I'm recording this on location. Cool. See, as you know, Tim and I are currently in the midst of a regional film tour. The idea was we have had such good luck with various regional films, like Jack Weiss. He really captures the spirit of Louisiana. Or Charles B. Pierce really captures the spirit of Arkansas. Get those interesting regionalisms in. So we're going to do a tour. The 50 nifty United States, or probably a few other places here and there. We're going to go and find a film that exemplars that. Something we can really sink our comedy teeth into. This week,
we sent you there
as part of my ongoing promotion of my book, Asgardians, Book 1, Odin. I find myself for a week away in the nifty state of the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yep.
So I says to Tim, Tim, instead of doing the film we were gonna do, what if we do a Massachusetts film? Tim's like, great, I have a film I already chose, and it's set in Massachusetts. It's filmed in Massachusetts, and so here I am in Massachusetts talking about a film set in Massachusetts, and the film filmed in Massachusetts, and the film is The Amazing Transparent Man, 1960. Represent from Massachusetts. Can we go over some cool facts I found about The Amazing Transparent Man?
It was mostly filmed in Massachusetts. That's one.
Wait. First one was filmed back to back with Beyond the Time Barrier, another film in Dallas, Texas. Oh,
another film.
That's interesting. Wait, I thought this was the Massachusetts film. That's a strange fact about this movie. Let's see what else. It was the final film of Marguerite Chapman. Did you catch that?
I did not.
Yeah, it was her final film. She didn't die right after either. She just retired. She didn't die until 2000 something.
Oh, did she die in Texas right after filming?
No, she died in California. It was featured. This is actually the rare instance of a movie I've seen before here because it was featured on MST3K.
Oh, I never saw it there.
Yeah, it's one of their least popular episodes, as a matter of fact.
Interesting.
When they voted on their favorite episodes, it failed to cross the top 100.
Wow.
One of the film creators called it instantly forgettable and said the only saving grace was the short film they paired it with. This movie lent its name to a pop band, which was also called The Amazing Transparent Man. Ironically, there were 4 people in the band, so the name was a misnomer. And my final fact about The Amazing Transparent Man, Tim?
Yes.
It was only 57 minutes long, which is the whole reason Tim chose it, despite the rich opportunities for comedy that a regional film shot in Massachusetts might otherwise provide. Also, Tim probably wrote a lot of Massachusetts jokes already and didn't want to restart.
Well, I already watched it. Hey, I am International Movie Database. It says filmed in Massachusetts in the Berkshires.
So, folks, here, this is actually, I want to give you, Tim, I'm entering into some unprecedented territory here.
Okay.
I think this actually calls for a new bit of music for you to compile.
Oh, no. No time.
I need to capture the feel of this. So because I knew that this was going to be a controversial episode, and because the movie itself is quite short, we have some time to fill up. I'm going to do, this is a piece. This was cobbled from our texts. I'm going to read.
You can't read this on the air.
I can read some of it. The important names are changed if anyone was defamed. The Amazing Transparent Man Controversy. A dramatic text reading by George O'Connor. Yesterday, 9:36 p.m. George. Tim. This looks like a Texas film to me, Tim. Tim. What you mean? George. I looked this movie, The Amazing Transparent Man, off of Wikipedia. It says it was filmed back-to-back with another film in Dallas, Texas. Tim. Oh, I saw it in Massachusetts on IMDb. And then he puts down a Matt emoji face. George. Yeah, but if you click on it and expand the filming locations, it had one in the Berkshire Mountains of Massachusetts.
Okay.
So basically, maybe an establishing shot in the opening scene.
Okay.
Everything else is filmed in Texas. Hey, buddy, this is your dramatic reading. You sit and listen like a good audience member. Tim, this is what I found. I just have to trust the internet. I always do. Hashtag stop test steal. You love steal wrong. George, you didn't even click the link. Tim, I do my own research. That's why I know so much about elevators and why COVID doesn't exist.
Jeez.
George, what? Tim, you had one job. Tim, 2 jobs. Remember, I'm also a fancy New Yorker cartoonist. George. Well, anyway, now this is a Texas film. And my whole idea of doing a film shot in Massachusetts, while I was literally inside Massachusetts, is moot. Moot! Tim, IMDb said Mass. Who will know? G.
Who will know?
George, who will know? Oh, did I say it wrong? George.
No, just say it.
It didn't say Mass. You just didn't read far enough. And the listeners will know because I will tell them. Tim, roll with it. Like this big fat J I'm about to split to my feet. George, you're not even using that slang correctly. Anyway, you roll with it. Massachusetts is an A-letter state. The whole idea of the regional tour of Seddy Bimco is to get the crazy regionalisms. Hawk the Caw at Harvard Yard. Duncan. Wicked. Red Sox. Funny Massachusetts stuff. Not this turd of a movie that could have been shot anywhere, but was actually shot in Texas. Your shoddy research is turning this into treating this like a South Carolina or Nebraska. Tim, I don't care. I'm a busy guy. A busy guy is about to slip this Nat Duke to my face. Hole. George, that's not how to use that slang. Our listeners deserve the truth. Tim, Seddy Bimco listeners can't handle the truth. They don't want the truth because deep down in places they don't talk about at parties I don't get invited to, you want me deciding what's on Seddy Bimco. We use words like pet rock, streetcar, and Pete Best. We use these words as the backbone of a podcast spent creating revenge sequels for movies that never had them. We use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man whose busy touring schedule makes him miss repeated tapings of this podcast. Why, when I was on tour, I never missed a podcast. Even once. Not even one time. I had just finished a signing at the White House. Well, Claudia begged me to stay, but I left because I had a duty. You misspelled duty there. You spelled the D-O-O-D-Y.
I did have a duty.
I stepped outside, and I got a text. It was from Alex Trebek. He said it was a clue on Jeopardy. George, I would rather you said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick a movie which was blatantly not filmed in Massachusetts and tell everyone it was. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think. And if I hear one more word, I'll kablasto in here quicker than you can say Critters 3. George, fine, Tim, fine. Even though it completely blows the opportunity for a great Massachusetts regional film, fine. Tim, it's a mass movie, ... So easy, ...
It's funny.
Then some time passes. Today, 1:56 p.m. Tim, 7 tonight? George, make it 7:30, please. I have a 6 o'clock notary appointment, so I might not be back by 7. Tim, black fist emoji raised in an imitation of a Black Power symbol. And folks,
I'm surprised I have time to do all that texting.
That was my dramatic reading of our text exchange. Now you understand. IMDb does in fact say Massachusetts is a filming location, but even the most cursory amount of, you can go there right now, folks, the most cursory amount of research, clicking on the filming locations will show it was just one location in the Berkshire Mountains. The opening scenes of this movie. The rest filmed back-to-back in Dallas, Texas.
But the writer...
Enjoy your Massachusetts film.
He wrote it while he was on a train ride through Massachusetts.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Took 15 minutes.
Even if he did. That's not the purview of this. Because the whole point is to get regional films. Instead, we got a fucking B-movie turd filmed in Dallas back-to-back with another film. All right, folks.
Did you get that text I texted you from the dermatologist?
The one where you said, is this a pimple or a boil?
No. Why would I be asking you that?
I don't know. I thought you got confused.
No, the doctor was cutting things off me. And then she said, now you're going to smell some burning and hear some, some snapping, crackling. And I go, oh, you're going to cauterize it? And she says, oh, you know what that is? Do you work in the medical field? I'm like, well, isn't that a common word to know? I said, no, I'm a cartoonist. And then there's just awkward silence for the rest of the time.
Hey, folks, I honestly don't know if this is a joke or not. I think she might have snapped.
No, it's like, I know what cauterizing is because I saw Empire Strikes Back. And,
Did she actually, while cauterizing room, did she cut you too deeply? And then she goes, oh, I thought he smelled bad. From the outside.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's do, before we get into this fucking amazing transparent farce, I have some general Massachusetts facts, because we typically do this where we talk about the state that was featured.
Yeah.
So Massachusetts, population of 27,469,114 people. Massachusetts was the 28th state, entered the Union in 1845. Its state bird is the northern mockingbird. Its state flower is the bluebonnet. Its biggest city is Houston.
Oof.
It's also known as the Lone Bay State. And the most famous historical event was the Houston Tea Party, when General Santa Anna led his squadron of redcoats to crush the rebels who were hiding in the Alamo Church at Boston Harbor.
Okay.
Even today in Houston, locals get teary-eyed at the patriotic cries of, remember what I was talking about? And
what is going on?
I don't know. And by the way, folks, and Kim, you don't get any elevator or streetcar facts this week. Because I couldn't decide, as you can tell by my state facts, are we talking about Texas or are we talking about Massachusetts?
Texas has...
Who knows?
Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to mention the Salem witch trials?
Nope, because that didn't... who knows? This movie, folks, this movie really... there was so much of Salem witch trials in this. I feel like this movie really... You could see this was the same people who made that.
Cheers almost took place in a Texas airport bar. So.
Maybe it did.
Maybe it did.
Maybe actually the same place.
Dunkin' Donuts, they're not in Texas.
Oh, they are now.
They're founded in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Here in New York, it's a place where you chill after doing heroin. Everybody, if you didn't know.
Quincy, Massachusetts?
No. Dunkin' Donuts.
The Texas airport. Oh, okay.
And the Texas airport.
Okay.
So, you want to get to the movie?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Came all the way to Massachusetts to do a Massachusetts type film. There's no Boston. There's no Duncan. There's no Salem witch trial. There's no funny accents. There's no nothing because this movie was filmed in Dallas.
No. Yep. I trusted IBDM.
Yeah, and you should trust IMDb first off. That's what it's called. And if you had clicked on even one link in IMDb, you would have learned more. You would have done any research at all instead of just looking at the screen as it first pops up when you call it up. Yeah, you would have had more.
I was in a hurry. My assistant had the week off.
You called producer Miss Lee your assistant? That's a great name. It sounds like you just did.
I didn't. Different assistant. So you want me to give the basic script, basic plot, basic synopsis?
Yeah, this is your fault. You go for it.
There's a man. He escapes from a Massachusetts prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I do want to address, taking all controversy aside, there's no statement that this takes place in Massachusetts.
There's no what?
There's no... they don't say this is Massachusetts.
No, they don't. It's just inferred.
I actually get the feeling it's supposed to be like in Washington, D.C., but...
I don't know. They're out in the woods.
Yeah.
It's like a house.
That's true. Yeah,
a lady picks him up, and he's like,
"Wait, are you giving the super quick synopsis? Or are you going through
super quick? The lady picks up this prisoner and whisks him away to a laboratory where they're gonna turn him invisible and get him to steal nuclear materials for him. That's the basic plot. And there's the Nazi and a lady named Laura that we...
Interestingly thought he was a Nazi.
Come on. We'll get to it. We'll get to that.
I thought he was not... We'll get to that for sure.
His name was Olaf.
Yeah, well, I thought he was...
Nazi
Given
name.
that he was imprisoned in a concentration camp, I actually thought he was a German Jew.
Well, there was a crucifix on his wall over his bed. I saw it. I'll post.
Yeah, but he was a prisoner. He didn't get to put that there. He also had his daughter locked in a hole.
I think they're just tormenting him.
Yes,
it's pretty hard. Hard to figure out.
They do a lot of mean stuff. All right, so and the movie opens up where we hear like newspaper like stuff like the prisoner has escaped. The guy's name is Faust. So
Faust.
Devil's Bargain. We can see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
He's this dangerous safe breaker. He can get into any lock anywhere. He should be a member of like the Ocean's 11 team. He's escaped, and this like random pretty lady who is the woman I mentioned, who this is her last film.
Laura.
Marguerite Chapman plays him. I guess she picks him up, and even though there's an APB looking out for an escaped man, their way of getting past the police cordon zone
in a convertible
is to have the man lay down and pretend to be asleep in the driver's seat. They put a hat over his face partially, and the cops pull him over. Like, ma'am, can I see your ID? And she's like, here you go. What about your husband? He had a rough day. He got really drunk and passed out. Does he have his ID? No, he's a drunk driver. Well, he's had a rough enough day. Move along.
Yeah, I know.
Worst stops.
That cop later went on to say, hey, I think that guy from the book depository shot the president, not those guys behind the grassy knoll. Anyway, just sequel for him.
That's the sequel? Did you already shoot your story thing?
Yep, I did.
No, I do like is that like he actually just wrote this guy on, and a second later, like a car pulled up driven by a black guy, and he was like, "Well, you're obviously the dude." It's like, even though there's a picture of this guy.
Yes, that happened too.
That's what happens in 1960 when this movie is filmed.
In Massachusetts,
yeah, who was just actually don't mind those names. All right, so they drive a little bit further on, and the guy's like, "Say, Dame, why'd you help me back there?" And then I don't know, can you take from here?
She says, "You'll find out soon enough."
I'll tell you one thing. This is the way we do it in Texas. I mean, Massachusetts. I mean, wherever this is at.
We're not going to Harvard Yard. We're going out to this house in the woods.
We're not going to the Alamo.
They just go to a house. So this scene could have been in Texas because they come to a house where a guy's just standing outside with a gun.
Yep.
Guarding the house. His name is, I do know his name. But
it was Willis?
Was it Willis?
It was something I remember associating with Different Strokes.
Maybe it was then. We'll
was
call him
Gary
Willis.
Coleman?
Yeah, it was Gary Coleman with a gun. They bring him in a house. They got an organ. It's a nice house in the woods. It looks creepy, like the Texas Chainsaw House, I might say. But
I thought it looked like the house from Psycho.
What state's in Psycho?
I'll say this. It definitely looked like the sort of house you'd find in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where a guy would be out front feeding a horse coffee.
The guy with the shotgun. Yeah, guy with the shotgun wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Wearing a fucking cowboy hat.
So they meet Major? Wait, who do they meet?
Oh, you know what? I was wrong. His name was Julian.
Julian.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Major who's in charge of this house.
Yeah.
So.
And this is interesting because his name is Major Krenner. But they only just call him the Major, and he, in case you get ideas, because the name is vaguely German, he speaks with just a complete American accent.
He does.
But we learned that he is a spy. We learned, but they don't say for whom. But his whole thing is he's set up this special thing here.
He's a spy from Texas, spying on them in Massachusetts. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, that's probably a little less. Yeah.
So
that explains his thick. His and everybody else's movie, like distinctive Massachusetts accents on display.
He mentions he knows everything about Faust, the wife that turned him in to the cops, and the child he can never see. Faust gets really angry.
He stands up, chokes him, says, "You never say my daughter's name again." And I'm watching her and I go, "He never said her name.
Nobody never came into the plot.
Never gave her name. Just mentioned there was a daughter. Didn't say my daughter Trixie or whatever."
So
Tim, quick question.
Yeah?
Is this possible? Could we do a spur of the moment list? A guy named Faust who's a safecracker. What would he name his daughter?
You're testing me?
Yep.
Faust, daughter.
Lockpick.
Huh?
I think the daughter's name is Lockpick.
Lockpick.
Yep. Combination.
Oh, a combination.
Yeah.
All right.
I broke Tim, everybody.
You broke me. Sometimes you break me.
Pete Best.
He didn't show up for work, so he got fired. He broke me.
All right, that's Jim just made a reference to a video he shared outside of Seddy Bimco of Paul McCartney being interviewed on the Howard Stern show, where he revealed that basically Pete Best didn't show up for work one day and he got replaced by Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't believe that story?
I believe it. I just think it's funny you just mentioned it with like everyone like, what? He didn't show up to work? What? What's he talking about?
But Dr. Peter Olaf, he's a nuclear scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he said, his story is darker than this whole movie. He said he was in the...
I was pretty surprised they actually said all of this stuff, but yeah.
He experimented on his own wife. He didn't know it was her.
Yeah.
I thought
so he was
I don't know. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's during the war, and he says he was made to do experiments. So the made to do experiments part was weird to me.
Yeah.
And he mentioned specifically concentration camps, which I'm like, I know that we actually, as a people, mentioned those in 1960.
Oh, yeah.
And he performed these experiments on his own wife, and they're like, and the guy Faust, he's like, your own wife? Like, yeah, she wore a hood. We're actually slipping out of stuff because, have we even explained what's happening here yet?
Oh, they show him all the machinery. He doesn't know yet either because they have machinery.
Yeah.
He gets a guinea pig out, and
this is Dr. Ulaf. So anyway, yes, Ulaf has been working for this major guy.
Yeah,
and Ulaf has this machine that's powered by nuclear material of some variety.
Oh, there's a safe that's important. He's like, if we open that safe, we'd be all irradiated, or it would explode.
Oh yeah, so. It's very likely we would explode. Like, oh, check off safe.
Yep.
So anyway, they take this little guinea pig. It's really cute.
It is
a guinea pig, very cute.
And Julian seems upset about it, didn't he? He was like, "Don't worry, this guinea pig will be okay." Faust, this criminal, he seems actually concerned. Did you notice?
Wait, Julian did or Faust did?
Faust.
Okay.
You noticed
he did seem concerned. Yeah, he did.
You know why?
Was this a list?
Do you know why? No, it's a list of one, George. It's just why.
Is it a list because in Texas people venerate guinea pigs?
It's not a list. It's why he was so sad and concerned about that guinea pig. He used to coach. He used to coach an all guinea pig soccer team, and their plane once crashed in the Alps.
They kicked the guinea pigs.
And they were going to freeze to death, so he had to eat his entire team of guinea pig players. It's a very sad day.
I love the way you phrased that. Was we breathe fall. It's cold. I have tons of food, but you're going to freeze it, so sorry, I got to eat you. Squeak, squeak, squeak. We shared this guinea pig, but please, you have thousands of dinners. Stop. Sorry, I'm going to eat you. We did. Child stew monster.
What happened.
Yep. So they take this little guinea pig, they strap it onto the table like you'd seen in an old movie from 1960.
Right.
2 big metal clamps on either side, which the guinea pig could have just walked out.
I think so.
But it's really cute. It's sitting there squeaking. They have this thing, kind of sci-fi looking ray thing shooting at it. You don't see Ray, which actually get credit for it. They understand radiation is invisible.
That's true.
And the guinea pig, even though you're seeing it from a 3/4 view, they superimpose a drawing of the skeleton drawn directly from overhead over it as it slowly becomes transparent.
What's a lot of trouble?
And then disappears.
Yep.
Like, great Scott, Doctor! You made that guinea pig invisible.
And then they put it with the other guinea pigs, and the other guinea pigs turn against it because it's very different. It's invisible, right?
Yeah. And they murder it. No.
Then they turn the Faust invisible. That's what happens. That's pretty much all.
Well, they turn the guinea pig back, and you do see Dr. Ulaf kind of caressing the guinea pig, looking sad.
Ulaf, we must back up. Ulaf is helping them because they have his daughter in a room.
Oh, I was just about to get to that.
Okay.
So Brenner has to go out. The major. There's not much in this movie, so I am stealing this out of it because the major has to go somewhere, and he goes to Julian, who's the cowboy, the Texas cowboy I brought in the shotgun.
Right.
He's like, keep an eye on Faust. He's a dangerous man. Locks need nothing to him, so you can't bother locking him in. Just make sure he doesn't get into any trouble. He's like, I will, boss. Yeehaw. And then
he sits down.
The mayor goes out.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately Faust sneaks up behind him, knocked him unconscious.
Well, George, he sat down to read Reader's Digest.
Oh, but he was like, how long has Lockhorns been missing from my Reader's Digest? Yeehaw.
They were never in Reader's Digest.
Oh, really?
He read 3 articles that I saw.
Oh, well,
maybe this is my list.
Everybody. You know what? The maybe this is my list makes you think it's not your list.
I saw the articles he read. One was called My Dinner with Disney by Werner von Braun. Another article was How I Fought the Nazis by Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun gets around.
The last article I saw him reading was I was just following orders by Werner von Braun. So Werner von Braun got us to the moon, folks, if you don't know.
Yep, good guy.
Also a Nazi. Anyway, got to explain my joke. This young audience, our young hip audience, they don't know about.
It's good that it's good that you still went with like the oldest reference possible, though. All the kids just turned around and say like, "Why?" And they started watching TikTok. So then Faust goes into the room where Laura, Marguerite Chapman, who had brought him there, and he's like, "Listen, doll, I know that you're smarter than this. You know the Major. He is gonna kill you eventually." Wait, I'm making sound like John Wayne.
Yeah, maybe
he has more of the tough guy things. Like he's like, but like think about it, that thing that could turn us invisible. See what we could do. We could rob banks in the middle of the day. And she's like, and they had like witty such like, what you're laying down, I'm listening to, cowboy. Yeehaw.
Did you almost say witty?
Said, remember the what?
You almost said witty banter.
Witty, yeah, It did change it. Like it's not quite witty. They're trying to go for like the Thin Man type stuff. It was more the Texas Man they were getting. And so then the Major. Then at that point, Julian the Cowboy wakes up, knocks Faust unconscious. The Major comes home. He's like, "Damn it, you had one job."
Yep.
But they agree they have to work with him. So the next day, they take Faust, our hero, quote unquote hero, the guy who locked nothing to. They strap him on the same table with the guinea pig, and they shoot him with the rays, and he turns invisible. Different than the guinea pig. We don't see the skeleton doing.
No, that's too much work.
Yeah, that aspect should really
They do a funny little bit of music with it.
Like, you can play some?
Bling, bling. Yeah, I'll play it.
But you should sing it. I think you're singing it.
It was just going bling, bling, bling. Something like that. Something silly.
And Tim Racier, he disappears.
He does.
And they let him loose, and what does he immediately do?
Get in a fight.
Runs around the room where people can't find, just beating the shit out of the Major.
Yes.
Demands more money. I realized just now I had a chance for a current currency current. What does he demand from him?
Well, I have it written down later. Or do I have it here?
After he's beating up...
he offers him 1,000, but it's not enough. He wants 25. Yeah.
So should we do George's current currency?
Yeah, go ahead if you got it.
Okay. George's current currency. So in 1960, do you want to know how much 20? Well, I guess I should do 1,000 first.
Yeah,
huh?
1,000.
So 1,000, the initial price that the Major was offering.
It's 40,000 today.
That's your guess?
Yep. Wait, 10,000 today.
Tim!
I'm right?
You did it.
I did it.
I finally did
it.
$1,000 in 1960 was the equivalent of $10,000, $433.54.
Wow.
Today. That's pretty great. So you want to guess? You want to guess with 25,000, which is the renegotiated price?
I just have to be good at math to do that.
Yeah, so that's why you're not getting together necessarily.
Let me type.
You might guess.
Let me type on my computer.
No, don't you dare. Don't you cheat. You already cheated by making this a quote-unquote Massachusetts film. 25,000, the part he negotiates, is a considerable pay raise. That would be the equivalent today of $260,838.44. That has been your installment of George's Currency Corner. Nice. So Major's like, I don't have that kind of money. And he keeps pretty good acting, actually, of him getting beaten up and choked by an invisible man. Yes. I realized that the sadness for the actor who plays Faust, that all of his best scenes are scenes he's not actually in.
Oh.
Because they film it without him in there. He was off camera. Yeah.
Memoirs of the Invisible Man. Chevy Chase was also like, hey, you got to film me with my face. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Well, a lot of times when he was invisible and alone, we saw him because he's like, hey, I got to be on screen. That's why they did that.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
Chevy Chase.
He wanted to act.
He's my least favorite comedian who's named after a city in Maryland.
You remember who directed that movie, Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
Was it...
you're looking it up, Mr. John Carpenter.
No, I didn't. Wait, really?
Yep. I like Invisible Man movies. That one is not good, but I like Invisible Man movies.
I'm a John Carpenter fan. How did I not know that?
It was just a money thing. Chevy Chase wanted to do it. What are you doing? Looking up, see if I'm lying?
Yeah.
I don't lie about real movie facts.
Why would I trust you? Why would I trust you?
Because I don't lie about real movie facts.
You lied about where this movie's taking place.
I read it on the internet.
John Carpenter. Good Lord.
So Olaf's daughter is held prisoner in a room, and we never hear her, see her. They don't feed her. I thought she was frozen in a block of ice or something.
Okay, so yeah, let's explain. The reason why Olaf, the guy who I think was probably an imprisoned Jewish scientist and Tim thinks was a Nazi, the reason, like, we get it out of him, the reason that Faust is like, why are you working for the Major? You now know he's going to kill you. And he's like, I have to. He has my daughter locked in that room. And the guy can bring it in. He's like, that room right there? It's like, you get in? He's like, yeah, pretty easy. I forgot. That's when he gets knocked out. He was going to let her out. But It is funny because we don't hear her knock on the door. We hear no reference there. We're like, there's really no reason to assume she's really behind that door at all.
No, I thought she was like Anthony Perkins' mother there. Like Norman.
Yeah, Norman Bates.
Yep.
Norman Bates. And then, like, we also learn in other parts that other characters, the reason are working for him is he has dirt on them too. Like, the reason why the cowboy guy is because he says his son is not actually dead as he'd been led to believe, but alive and in jail in Europe. And why was Laura working for him?
I never knew.
They just
the alcohol. They drank a lot. They always are drinking martinis.
Yeah, there's a lot of drinking, and they do mention something. There's a lot of, like, misogynistic terms bandied her way, like,
he slaps her twice.
There's a lot of slapping.
He slaps her. Yep.
So basically, what's his name? Faust is turned invisible. He beats up the Major. He's running around. He agrees to do this job to steal this new type of radioactive material that will fuel the thing. Because basically, is it the part we learn what the Major's plans are?
He wants to make an army of invisible men, is it?
Yeah, and take over the country.
Yep. He must be a Nazi.
Must be. I mean, we don't know what he is. They never really quite say. Is he U.S.? Is he a spy that has a U.S. accent because he was well trained by his foreign superiors?
Yep.
Is he a Martian? Who knows?
While we're talking about Mr. Olaf, the guy I think...
Dr. Olaf, the guy you think is an Olaf, the guy you think is a Nazi, and I think was an imprisoned Jew, made to work because he's dark. Yep.
He was never welcome to the dinners with Disney and Werner von Braun. And I have a few reasons why he wasn't. Sorry. I have 2 lists.
There you go. It's good you admitted now.
So he wasn't welcome at the dinners with Disney and Werner von Braun because during dinner, Olaf would always bring up the fact that he experimented on his own wife. He was always asking.
Wait, I don't think that's a joke. I think that's unsettling.
He was always asking how many wives the absent-minded professor experimented on before he perfected Flubber.
Is that a Disney film?
He's asking. It's a Disney film.
Are you sure?
He was asking Disney that.
Okay.
Yes. When Disney told him about the It's a Small World ride he intended to build, Olaf always wanted to know if the wives would be normal-sized. There you go. There's my list. That's it.
Where were we on this story? Oh, so then...
They go to Rob, right? Are we up to that?
So then there's a scene where the Invisible's house goes to where they're holding this nuclear material.
Gets it, no problem.
No problem. But he just knocked out a couple guards, which seems like a bit...
Oh, that's right.
Wait, does he knock out the guards now, or is that later?
I think he punches him, because one guard notices... Yeah. Because the other guard is at the desk reading Reader's Digest.
And what was in this Reader's Digest, Tim?
JFK and Elvis. Will the 60s be their decade? And an article called How I Lost My Eye by Jack Elam. There's a good article.
Wow, Jack Elam reference. It's been a while. Because you don't remember, Jack Elam was a former favorite of Tim, the actor with a wacky eye.
Wacky eyes don't come up too much anymore.
No, we need more films with wacky eyes. If we had filmed the movie in Massachusetts, we'd actually watch it. There's a lot of people with wacky eyes here. I can attest.
They go to Harvard Yard.
Yeah, they go to Harvard Yard. They park their cars. They say, "Wicked, wicked."
Oh, he was also reading My Dinner with Disney by Werner von Braun. There, 3 articles. Yeah. Reader's Digest. Did you read it, Reader's Digest?
No, I'm not 300. No. You know what?
It's still around.
I know, but my memory of Reader... Well, here's my 2 memory. I did have a friend from high school who worked at Reader's Digest when she graduated.
That was upstate. Yeah.
Yep. She lived there for years. It was where I learned the expression golden handcuffs in terms of a job. She didn't enjoy the job, but it had really good benefits and paid well. So she stayed there for longer than she intended to. The other thing I remember about Reader's Digest, the primary thing, honestly, is that growing up, my grandparents always had a few copies in their bathroom, so I associate it with the smell of farts.
Oh, jeez.
It's true.
Wow.
Rough day for Reader's Digest.
Yes.
So, despite knocking out one of the guards unnecessarily, he gets the nuclear material back to the Major. The Major and Dr. Ulaf inspect it, and Ulaf's like, well, it's not quite, it's like called X-31 or something. It's not quite what we wanted. Like, it'll do it, but it's pretty unpredictable. It might blow up and leave a mushroom cloud and kill us all. And the Major thinks, and they still have a little bit of the previous stuff. He's like, keep using the previous stuff. We'll get him to steal some other things. Meanwhile, at some point off camera, it seems like Faust and Laura have been starting to have like a little bit of a fling.
Yes.
And like they're kind of getting open to stuff. Yeah, they're drinking a lot, and like she's like kind of on board with this idea of robbing banks because Faust is like, "We can steal banks, doll." And he talks about like you can make more money in one gig than you would with all the stuff you do with that guy Major.
And Major, I just realized Major, he does go out all the time. We never know where he goes, do we? We never see where he goes.
There is even the weird line where they make the bit later where he's like, where do you keep getting these tips from?
Yeah.
And I thought, that must be what he's doing. He's out getting information. I guess because he's a spy. But I thought there was going to be like another wrinkle where they were going to introduce a character he's talking to was probably someone we met. But they never really established it. He just goes out a lot. We do see at the containment place where he stole it from, some G-men types are interviewing the two guards. They're like, well, I don't know. And they're like, they basically they kind of figure out must be invisible.
Yeah, they're like right away. They're like,
well, they
hey, we're looking for this invisible man stealing stuff.
In defense of the movie, they are aware that Dr. Ulaf was last seen in this area of Texas, and they're aware that they have a line about like they are aware of that technology.
Yeah, but that one cop is like, how are we going to catch him? He's invisible.
Yeah,
they just assume.
I don't know. I was thinking about this every time I watch Invisible Man movie. Like, I get it that if I like sitting here and all of a sudden somebody invisible punches me, that's really disorienting. But if I'm in a room, they're not prepared, and they're throwing punches at me, I would just be throwing my arms around, and if I could just hold on to them, you might not. I mean, it's not like they're invisible and super strong or a great fighter. It's like
George, you're always.
I know I'm always beat up the bad guys.
You're always telling me how much you couldn't defeat invisible foes. Every time I see you.
Tim, we were hanging out and I beat up all those invisible people.
Yeah,
guys,
I remember.
There's this crowded bar, and like suddenly the bar just empties out, and I'm just throwing invisible punches and kicks. I'm doing this for like a good half hour. Everyone's staring at me like I'm a weirdo. But when I came back and told everybody I was fighting off invisible assailants, they all thought I was a cool dude. Yeah. And you know what? Supermodel Alexa Wick, she bought me a drink.
That's great. That's great, George.
Yep. And that's just know where this was, Tim? Texas.
Okay.
Yep.
Usually it only happens in Massachusetts.
Nah, that never happened in Massachusetts.
George, a nerdy question. If you really turned invisible, you wouldn't be able to see because your eyes would not work.
I know. So back when I was a little kid.
Wow.
No, this is true.
Okay, let's brag. You thought of this 40 years before I did.
When I was a little kid, I made my own team of superheroes who were all like variations on other superheroes. And my invisible character, their big thing was that you could still see two dots wherever they went, which are their irises. It's only available in certain angles. So their thing was they could sneak into places, but if there were people nearby, they had to close their eyes too.
Okay.
Yep.
Why could you see their eyes, though? You mean that they stayed visible so they could see?
Yeah, because the whole thing I heard is you're invisible, the light passes through you, and because it reflects back out. So I was like, in order to see, they need to have the light reflect. So they would have visible. It was just the pupils that you'd see.
Gotcha.
Yep. And I called them the act pupils.
You call that's the name of the character? Two characters?
No, that would have been pretty good, actually.
Yes.
Strike that. Erase that. I'm doing a book about that.
His name was Invisible Lad. I know.
His name was the Invisible Tickler. And he would tickle his foes from invisibility. So then,
where are we? They wanted to make him invisible again? Are we up to that?
They turn invisible again using the other radiation. Laura and Faust go, and they, instead of stealing the stuff they're supposed to, they go and rob a bank. But unfortunately, while he's leaving, Faust turns just his head visible. He's like, oh, and everybody sees him. And then he turns all the way invisible, he runs off, and he's freaking out because, as we learned in the beginning, he's like the super wanted criminal in the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows who he is. So he's like, and he's immediately identified as this. And they know that, then the government knows that he's the guy doing this.
Mm-hmm. It's APP out for Mr. Joey Faust.
What does APB stand for, Tim?
All Points Bulletin.
I would say I love peanut butter, just like the guy used to say in Sesame Street. I love peanut butter sandwiches. Remember the magician? Yeah.
I remember him.
I remember him too.
You're too young to remember him.
I'm not. I had a book that he was in.
You remember the Z's that would hide? I remember the Z's.
No, what was the Z's? Was it literally the letter Z?
Yeah, they hid on the barn door. Anyway, I remember that.
Why barn door?
Has a Z-shaped wood that they put on the barn door.
I do remember that. Holy shit, Tim.
Yep.
I always loved that one when they would find the letters hidden and stuff. They could have other stuff too, not just Z's.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Guys, Sesame Street is some good shit. All you fucking Generation Z kids with your Blueies and your Blues Clues and your other blue thing, Bear in the Big Blue House, all that shit. Sesame Street's where it's at. Now back to two old men talking about an old movie.
Right.
So we cut back to Dr. Olaf, who's crying because the guinea pig died of radiation.
That's right.
Yeah, the guinea pig, it turns out it's been poisoned, radiation poisoning. And Krenner's like, oh no. I mean, Krenner, the major, is like, oh no. And he's like, yeah. And also, Olaf says, I have radiation poisoning. He's like, oh no. Yeah, and also Faust has radiation poisoning. Major's like, holy shit, oh no. And so we learn that there's this kind of ticking time clock. The major has maybe, I think he says he's a week to live. No, more than a week, right? But like a month, it's not long. And then he tells Faust, he's like, Faust, you got maybe a week to live. And Faust's like, what? And he's like, yeah, but you've been a bad person, Faust, and you need to, this guy, the major, he wants to create an army of,
not a good idea.
Invisible people. And Archie wants to stop. He's like, I don't care. He's like, what about your kids? Don't you care about your kids? I'm like, this guy probably shouldn't have kids. He's radioactive. But he's like, don't you want to make the world for a better place? And he goes, what about Boston? He goes, what about Boston? We're in Texas. He says, yeehaw. He goes, remember the Alamo? And he fires the 6-cent shooters in the air. And he does a jig. So they kind of turn on the major. They take the daughter out of the room. That's why I'm like, whoa, there is a girl in there. There is so funny, everybody.
She doesn't say anything.
This is not... The major goes to get... Olaf says, I can't work with you anymore, Major. He's like, well, I'm going to take your daughter then. He just unlocks the door. She's standing right there. Yes. Just this goony looking, but kind of average looking girl. Just walks right out. She's like, hello. He's like, hello, Maria. Come, let's go. And I'm like, wait, she was there behind the door the whole time, fully dressed, ready to go?
Ready to go.
Like, just like standing right there. And then, wouldn't you know it, the invisible Faust starts fighting. Wait, is he invisible? Yeah, he is invisible at first, but then he immediately turns visible because he's dying, right?
Yeah.
There's some gun shit. There's gun shit. There's firing guns.
Well, they try. They try to get away. I mean, there's not much to it, but they do get out on the road, and then Faust does go back to stop him.
Faust is super mad at Lara for some reason. I didn't really saw that why. He decides to go back to stop him. But he gets the girl. He rescues the girl. Gets her to Dr. Olaf. Is like, you get her to safety. I'm going to make the world a better place. He goes into the major's thing. They fight. Oh, we forgot this part. They have a showdown with Julian, the cowboy with big shotgun.
Oh, that's right.
And he's about to shoot him. And Laura just goes, Julian, your son, who you thought was dead, but the major said was living in a prison in Europe, and you would get with him? Yeah, he's really dead.
Yad. Oh.
And then she was...
He's really dead, sorry.
He's in the basement of the Alamo. And then and immediately this guy sits down and cries. Like, that's what's up.
Yeah, really.
And even though Tim and I introduced him in a recap, this was his motive for working for him, in the movie, we were not privy to this fact until the second one. She said, yeah, he's really dead. So he sits there and sits in the chair really sad. He picks up a Reader's Digest. Tim, what 3 articles did you see in that Reader's Digest? I'll tell you what I saw. First one was like, top 10 ways to deal with finding out your son is not actually in a prison in Europe, but is dead. That was a convenient one to find. What else did he have?
Try Google, yeah. Oh, he read one about Precious Waters, the up-and-coming star.
Oh, soon to be in the issue of Playboy, perhaps, it said.
Yeah. An article about how the British music scene was dead. And,
and I sure hope that some young band that's touring Germany as we see comes back and revitalizes some sort of Silver Beatles, perhaps. Sure hope that Pete Best guy isn't popping up, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh,
Tim, you okay?
I listened to another podcast that's called, I want to give them credit. But did you know?
Oh, it's real. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about when they're trying to make, all the times they tried to make Lord of the Rings into a movie. Do you know what happened in the 60s when they wanted to make it a movie? Do you know who they came to? Do you know the story?
I'm trying to think who would be in the 60s.
No, they came to the Beatles. And Paul and John are like, yeah, we're going to be hobbits. This is a great project.
So,
but luckily,
fucking J.R. Tolkien was still alive. And
he was alive. He said no.
I will shoot you all.
Can you imagine that happened?
Kind of sadly. If you squint just right and look at Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, you can picture who do you think was which?
They told, and I forget because I do forget. Because somebody was Gandalf, and I was like, who? That'd be John, right? I don't know.
I know.
Anyway,
that sucks. That's awful.
I liked it's some podcast called Disasters. I'll give them credit at the end of the show.
All right. Yeah, splice it in. I'm typing Beatles LOTR so I can read what this later. Wow, yeah, right there in Variety. All right, so
he does he fights with the Major, our Mr. Faust, at the end because Major throws acid on him. I'm like, wow.
Oh, I didn't catch that's what happened.
Didn't he have a gun? Why he threw acid when he came upstairs?
Yeah, they both had guns. They're shooting each other, but like at point blank range. Nobody ever gets hit. They end up wrestling. I should mention that what's his name is not invisible at this point because his radiation poisoning is kicking in, and they're struggling. And luckily he told Laura and the doctor's idiot daughter to get far away. And as they're sitting there, he's choking him, and they're kind of in like a stalemate. But then Cost reaches over and starts opening Elset's sage.
Yeah, why?
Because that's what that material was. That if it's jostled wrong, will explode.
I know. He just okay. I didn't know he was suicidal.
He's gonna die in a week anyway. That's the whole point. And the Major screams in a way that I found quite amusing. It's like,
yeah,
it was pretty funny. And then we cut, and like this movie set in the heart of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas. So then we see a fucking atom bomb go off.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa.
Laura, and it was just Laura, right? She was the only one getting away.
No, Laura and the doctor, because the doctor has the greatest line in last line in movie history.
Yeah, but they jumped in a refrigerator. That's how they got away from the atomic blast.
But Harrison Ford is in these. Get your own damn fridge, and he shoves her out, and she gets vaporized.
They found another one. Yeah.
Well, they were in a refrigerator. Did we mention this whole movie is filmed in a refrigerator sales lot? In Texas.
in Harvard Yard.
Yeah, nope.
Right outside of Dunkin' Donut. How do you like them apples?
Oh, you don't have apples in Massachusetts. So then we cut to there's footage of like some cops standing on the edge of this town.
Yeah.
Not wearing radiation suits.
It's like Jimmy looks like an atomic bomb.
His guys like scrubbing the remains of the house, kind of wearing hazmats but not covered up, so they are all dead of cancer. And they're interviewing the people. The people are interviewing like, you can't go any further. There's too much radiation. And they're saying, like, what happened? And the doctor's in the backseat of the car. And the cops, just a random-ass cops, have a lot of knowledge about him. I heard about your experiments. Like, to make a man invisible. It's like, yes, so did the Major. But he wanted to use it to create an invisible army. I couldn't allow anything so terrible to happen. And the cop is like, but just think of how good it would do for espionage. Just think of all the power of your invention. He's like, but what could I do? And then he looks right at the camera. What would you do?
I know.
And the fucking movie ends.
Because he's talking about hiding this technology. It shouldn't be used.
Yes, and that's where the movie ends, with a plaintive look of Dr. Ulof looking at us. You and I, Tim, the only two people to watch this film probably in the last 10 years. What would we do? So, Tim, we forgot to choose our question, but I'm okay with that.
Revenge.
No.
Revenge.
What would you do if you had the power to turn invisible is my question. Instead of our typical invisible thing, let's do this instead.
Really?
Yeah, because the movie actually asked us, Tim, and we forgot to do it front. Yeah. So what would you do if you had the power to turn invisible?
Well, I would likely fly to England on an airplane that was mostly empty, so that no one would know I was there, and I could grab all as many peanuts and those little jars of alcohol if I wanted. And
would people see the alcohol and peanuts, or would this be the sort of like he didn't have to take his clothes off, so we could assume things secret in your person disappear.
Yeah,
classic. I prefer the sort of nudity where I have to be naked because that's more humiliating.
Well, I'd get to England and then I'd sneak off and I'd walk around the airport, eat some Toblerones, and I would. I forget the layout of England. I haven't been there a long time. I don't know how I'd get. I'd get a bicycle and ride it to the hotel, even though, and people would just film it on TikTok.
Good Lord, what's up? Yep.
And then I would go to a hostel. No,
what would you do at the hostel, Tim?
I would find I forgot to bring up a plug adapter.
Well, no, Tim,
because I'm invisible. I can't carry that with me.
Tim, luckily you're invisible. You can just walk to the store and steal one.
Yeah. I like to think I'd do good things, but what would you do? I'd be jealous. I'd be petrified I would do bad things because people don't know you're there. So
I've heard it said that if you ask people, like apparently the two most popular things to say, if you can have any superpower, what do you want? There's people say they want to fly, or people say invisible. And they say if you say you're invisible, you're just a bad person.
Yeah,
because there's not really any way you can use it. It's not bad. I would use it. I was thinking this recently. So just recently, it was my fiance's 40th birthday. So to celebrate, we went to a trip to Disney. And there's a lot of instances there was really fucking long lines. And I'm like, man, if I had the power to turn invisible, and I thought of it many times, like I would just turn invisible and walk into that part right there. I would do that shit a lot. I hope I wouldn't be the sort of guy who's like, I'm going to look at that lady over there and then woo, woo, woo. I'm not. I want to be that guy. That guy's trouble. Yes. I want to be the guy who just uses it to cut lines a lot.
Oh, well, were you inspired by that guy on the Small World ride? Maybe he thought he was invisible.
The guy who did acid and took all his clothes?
Took all his clothes and walked through. Maybe he thought he was invisible.
Tim, that guy was me.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There you are. Wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us.
You want me to do my story first?
I can do mine first.
Okay.
Yeah. So, my revenge story. Do you start the music?
Yeah.
Can you play something with a nice Texas feel to it?
Jeez, no. It's got a very Massachusetts feel.
Yeah, there's nothing saying. All right, so the character in my movie, The Person Seeks Revenge, it's no character from the movie because really, not a lot of people survive. At least not very long. Nope. We know. I mean, the bad guy dies, Faust dies. We know that the professor is only got a week or so to live. In fact, everybody in this movie probably dies of radiation poisoning shortly after because they're feet away from a nuclear bomb.
Everybody.
No, The Person Who Seeks Revenge is director Edgar G. Ulmer, the real-life director of this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, so here's what you should know about him. He was an Austrian-born director, actually Austro-Hungary, because it's so long ago, right? Ooh. And he emigrated to the United States, where he was well known as this guy. He was able to produce a lot of films very quickly on a cheap budget, but they were good. They were considered pretty artsy. And I will say, this movie, as much as I'm giving it a hard time, for an old movie, I enjoyed it. Like, this is pretty good.
And the thing is,
it was like, no, it's from the atom bomb. The thing is, director Edgar G. Ulmer, he came here, he found his way in Hollywood making all these films. He really grew to love his adopted nation. Specifically, this is very interesting, when he came to Dallas and shot this film and the other one that he filmed back to back, Beyond the Time Barrier, he actually moved to Texas. This is for real.
Okay.
This is where, because that was it was close to the end of his career. This is he's winding down. He's like, I really like it here. This was in 1960. He dies in 64. This is unfortunately pretty close to the end of his life. Yeah, I was kind of bummed to read that actually. And so he actually made his home for the rest of his life in Texas. And so he stayed in Texas and specifically Dallas, which is where he filmed it. And this was an important moment for his life. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
And so he had such a good time filming these movies. They're kind of minor B movies and stuff. He actually grew to hate Massachusetts. Especially
Why? He wasn't living there.
Well, he did film one shot.
Okay.
He had to do a pickup shot. It was actually the reason why it turns out why we don't see that dude's face in that scene. It's because it wasn't. They didn't even bring the actor there. They got another guy there. They filmed that one scene in Massachusetts to establish it. However, while Ulmer was filming this movie, he had a hot cup of Dunkin' coffee. And when he yelled cut at the end of that scene, this too hot cup of coffee spilled on his lap and boiled his nuts.
Okay.
And it's
Is that why he died? Okay.
No, it's not why he died. He was just pissed off. He's like, I fucking hate Massachusetts. So he returns to his beloved Texas. He spends his time doing Texas things, wearing big boots, wearing big belt buckles, wearing big hats, eating lots of chili.
Doing line dancing?
Doing line dancing, yeah. Swear dancing. What other sort of dancing does he do?
line and square and circle.
Spending a lot of time taking
Cajun.
ice and ginger, repacking them as boiled nuts because of what happened to him in Massachusetts, and he hates Massachusetts so much. Then, Tim, one day he sees his chance for revenge.
Okay.
One dark day in November 1963. Yep. He finally got his chance to revenge himself.
Was he assistant film director on the Zapruder film?
No, he was Tim.
Oh no.
He had a whole team in place.
Oh wow. Going dark.
He was the gunman.
He hired Zapruder.
He shot. Zapruder was filming the extra coverage for his movie he was going to do. He shot Massachusetts' favorite son in his beloved adopted state of Dallas. He killed fucking Kennedy. Blew his head open like the same way his own nuts ruptured when he poured boiling hot Dunkin' Nuts coffee on.
Wow.
Yep.
You've said nuts too many times.
So were D's nuts. He was, Tim, one of my sayings, coffee was chock full of nuts.
D's nuts. Yeah.
Chock full of D's nuts. Chock full of D's busted nuts.
Good one. No.
And then, of course, he died at 64, like I said beforehand. Zapruder, we know he had a wild career.
But if he hadn't died, he could have done the final edit on the Zapruder film and stuck an atomic bomb at the end of it.
Well, a lot of people don't realize. I think it only showed once that one time that it was on Peraldo's Good Morning America that you watched as a little kid. Good Night America. They showed the atom bomb at the end. A lot of people don't realize that Dealey Plaza was nuked immediately after that. Yeah. And that is and the music. That's been my story.
I was there.
That's the recreation that's the recreation Stanley Kubrick made.
All right.
That's the real Dealey Plaza.
Well, I like that story. See how conflict works. Conflict works.
I still maintain.
People, you're kind of watching. You're listening to the
last episode of Seddy Bimco.
Well, you're listening to the podcast equivalent of Let It Be. You know how the Beatles were breaking up with all this conflict and
then they broke up. Yeah,
wonderful stuff.
Yeah. So in 50 years, the Peter Jackson equivalent will make a pretty good documentary about it. Yep.
Oh, and did you know what they? Well, I'll tell.
Oh, Tim, did you check in the mail that we just got an invitation to star in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted you to play Gollum.
A new version.
Oh, you're Gollum. Because you were saying what precious.
Yes, they heard that.
They listened, of course. They always listen. All right.
Here's my song. So this movie. I mean, here's my here's my song. My music.
Tim, sing it. That's Tim. I will forgive you for wasting the prime grade material, the prime real estate of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Think of how fun a regional film is there. Everyone's talking like this.
I know they did
stupid things. No, they did. Nobody did. There was
no one watched
cowboys in this movie. Yeah. If you sing this entire thing, I'll forgive you.
I can't.
All right, then I don't forgive you.
I'll sing the last line.
No, that doesn't work. No.
There's no reason to sing this. People will turn it off.
Yeah. Well,
so this movie.
Yep.
Let's start the music again. This movie, it was about a man trying to create an invisible army, and the end was like, we should leave that secret buried. But you know what? The military, they didn't leave it buried. After years of research, and a few years later, they got it working again. And just like with the drugs of the 60s, they tested out this X-ray machine on who? Hippies.
The drugs.
The LSD they tested on the counterculture. We all know that.
Yeah.
You know that story.
Yes, yeah. And they
what's it called? MSG? MSG?
Yeah, Madison Square Garden. That's how, what's his name? The guy who wrote Wealth of the Kupistes, Ken Kesey, was introduced to acid. Yeah. At Stanford University, they were doing actual tests, and he was the straight-laced guy, and he's like, this awoken something. And he took a bus thing further and painted psychedelic colors and drove across the country dressed up as Captain America, giving people acid. True story. It actually
happened in Harvard Yard. So anyway, they perfect the invisible X-ray machine, and they turn later on in the, it took a long time. Later on, after the 70s were almost ending, they turned all the hippies invisible. And then the machine blew up. That's right. The hippies didn't go away or get killed by small town cops. They were just invisible. And
Tim, do they still lurk among us?
I'll get there. See, you can't wait. This is a page turner. This is finally a page turner for George.
Finally.
So they were all just invisible, and they were angry, and they wanted revenge, because one of the side effects of being invisible was that pot no longer even affects them. So they're sober and angry, invisible hippies.
Well, this is a recipe for disaster.
So what happens? They get revenge with the army with a plan that starts with making money. They put on suits and they become the groovy wolves of Wall Street. They're just suits with no heads. And because they're invisible, they could sit in on other companies' meetings and commit insider trading without anyone knowing. Thus, they start to make a lot of money. They build an empire, and they're going to get revenge on the army for turning them invisible. But when you know it, the radiation wore off. Somewhere around the early 80s, and suddenly people can see the groovy wolves of Wall Street, and they see they have long hair and sideburns a mile wide, and they wear sandals and love beads.
I like that they were still trimming their hair even more.
Yes, they weren't trimming it.
But they had feet. Oh, so it wasn't like cool mutton chops. It was just shad.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So nobody would invest in them anymore, and they had one last idea. They invested all their money in this new E.T. video game that was coming out, and they still lost everything. They lost everything. They had to go back to being hippies. They fought amongst themselves about what to do. Some chose the dark path and became Grateful Dead fans, and some chose a darker path and they became Reagan supporters. And the movie's called The Groovy Wolves of Wall Street, because that's what it was. I got no pun, got no twist.
Nothing. And you already even used that exact title. Elsewhere in your story, yeah.
Did I? Yeah.
You literally called them The Groovy Wolves of Wall Street.
You see how I did that? How I brought it all together like you did. Because your story was, your story. I'm jealous of your story. But mine was a page turner for yours.
It's true.
For you, for a minute.
For a minute. And then I zoned out and started looking up Lord of the Rings adaptation.
Jeez.
Tim, do you know that Beatles film you were mentioning, who is going to be the director?
I forget.
Fucking Stanley Kubrick.
I don't remember that. Wow.
This is what the Variety article says. The Beatles almost starred in The Lord of the Rings for director Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, I don't know if they mentioned that.
Do you think they would have called it Lord of the Ringos? I think
they would have made that joke. That would have been the advertising.
That's the whole thing. At the end, they throw fucking Ringo into Mount Doom. He's like, oh, I know. Oh, my creation. That's my Ringo impersonation.
Who would play Gollum back then? Wouldn't be one of the Beatles.
Oh, you want to hear the whole thing? Okay.
No.
Lennon would play Gollum.
Who?
John Lennon.
Really?
Paul McCartnney would play Frodo.
I think so.
George Harrison would be Gandalf, and Ringo Starr would play Sam.
Okay. I would think none of the Beatles would want to be Gollum.
John Lennon reportedly loved the idea of playing Gollum.
Should have been Peter Lorre.
He's not a Beatle, though, is he?
No, but aren't there going to be other people in the movie besides them?
No, that was the only 4 characters.
They're going to do all the characters.
Yep, they were 12. No, that was it. They were just going to all the other characters do off camera.
Is George Martin going to play Balrog?
Hey, Gimli, what you doing over there? Well, the camera can't see you, Gimli.
Well, we got through this episode. We do have to say, George, I don't know if you realize, I've done my calculations. This is the last episode before our summer 2-week vacation.
Oh, I'm glad that was probably the last episode of Seddy Bimco, this apocalyptic meltdown episode. I'm glad this is the last one, folks.
But this is our 2-week vacation. You got 114 episodes of fun. Last week we talked about Beastmaster 2. Yep. And when we come back, we'll just leave that up in the air. We don't know what we're going to watch when we come back.
Weird.
Well, love us and like us, and follow us on all the socials except for Facebook and Twitter. Not there. And
just the 2 main ones.
at Seddy Bimco with the E at the end, gmail.com. I just looked. Our email's all backed up and clogged up.
Yep.
And that's it. We'll leave a mystery. We're going to come back all reverberated. All reverberated. And new episodes then.
All right.
Hello to our fans in Australia. Keep getting more listeners there for some reason.
They love our wallaby-based humor.
All right. Are we going to say goodbye? Is that exciting enough?
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Peace out.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line. It's a party line.
It is. It's just kind of loud. I just wonder if you have your volume like all the way up.
Oh, I think it's just loud because I'm angry.
Okay.
Yeah.